Hi, I'm Joe, and I'm a student of Bhante Chandana. Bhante is a wandering monk, and at the moment he doesn't have a permanent home or a monastery. So he depends on the donation and generosity from his students and supporters. So if you find any of his videos helpful or beneficial to you and the people you know, please consider making a donation to him at the link below. Thank you so much and have a good day.
So the question is, how would Lord Buddha relate to or understand or view people today in the modern world, in a place like, Western country or somewhere, anywhere in the world, where they celebrate a certain event like sports. I know in the States, people at this time would be talking about St. Patrick's Day, which means, going to pubs and clubs or bars to get drunk and act pretty much foolish. Celebrating Irish culture, some say. But the funny thing is that you go to Ireland, I've had Irish people say, that's not Irish. St. Patrick's Day. Well, the funny thing also, earlier, I had encountered from individuals, friends from Mexico, who would say the same thing about Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. And they say, we don't understand that. We don't have this in Mexico. And then you start seeing a pattern, because in ancient Rome, for example, the emperor and the powers that be were spending fortunes basically to build these huge Colosseum type arenas where people would go free of charge in many cases. So you didn't have any excuse not to go, basically, because that was the entertainment. And they would sell you stuff, things like that, this and that, There would be a lot of business going on. So you would see people, races and also gladiators, entertainment. In this case, what you're seeing is basically the people being drugged with entertainment. You have the same thing, and also expenditure. It's a business in a business way, capitalist business. I mean, as a method of that, it's a brilliant idea as far as capitalism goes, of making money. The same thing happens with, Valentine's Day. Well, why is that day supposed to be a day of so-called love, and people bend over backwards, spend fortunes to go ahead and buy something, and relationships even sometimes can break down because the person, one of the people anyhow, the partners, they didn't perform as expected in buying something, in getting something for the other person. So these are all distractions. These are foolish things, very similar to modern day arenas where they pack them like thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands perhaps, some stadiums, with people, where you have grown men running around a ball to kick it into a net, into a box. Grown men who are paid incredible amounts of money. It's such a foolish idea. Like, if you were to visit our planet, visit because you don't want to stay here, because of the loony, behavior that's going on, why would you want to? Look at us. Like, it's 88 billion people just I mean, really, putujjanas, real idiots, most of us. Even the educated ones. Nowadays, mostly the educated ones as well, actually. The other ones have a reason because they're not educated, so what's the reason for you to be educated and be dumb? So at least the other one doesn't have a degree. It's pretty embarrassing. So imagine if you were to visit our planet and see these huge events. Or the other thing, the carnivals, where people wear barely anything, run around, and it's like officially recognized, completely encouraged day of celebration of what? Insanity. Lewd behavior. Permissive, lewd behavior. Vulgar. So Lord Buddha would look at these as a waste of one's life, a waste of one's time, a waste of one's resources, a waste of one's integrity. Because what's happening when you're getting inebriated, when you're getting drunk? You're bringing down your restraint to say yes to behavior that you otherwise would never allow yourself to be. And usually you're doing that in the privacy of individuals who are also following the same schema, meaning not with those people who look up to you for guidance. Imagine if you're, most of the domestic violence cases at some point or other have at least one person becoming influenced by some substance. And many, many, many families, many individuals I used to treat and see in therapy sessions come from and have come from families where the parents, or at least one parent, used to come home and they're completely drunk. Or they drink at home. And then they start going off on the kids. So now you just created a pattern. So what they're doing is they're creating patterns of behavior. Of course, there's the consumerism. That's the modern thing, of these so-called holidays. They're not holidays. They're ways for you to spend money that you've really struggled to earn, and many a time it's not even money that you've earned. It's just, people are spending a lot of money on that they don't have, on credit and this and that. Christmas is a big, or the, Christmas and the other holidays around New Year. All these are modes of making more money for those in power. And so it's very much numbing. And it's sedation. It's sedating the public so you don't see what's wrong with society. The Dhamma, the Buddha's teachings, what he taught people for 45 years, was all about the opposite. To expose the things about society that do not help in fulfilling you. They don't. It's the opposite of sedating. It's the opposite of putting you into slumber. In the Book of the Threes from the Anguttara Nikaya, there's a sutta which I translated some years ago. And in it, I forgot how I translated, but basically it's on non-satiety, not being satisfied, quenched, always being eager, always, always wanting some more. And Lord Buddha talks about 3 things that he noticed beings never becoming satisfied with. One is sleeping, he says. Slumber. Dozing off. Being numb. And wanting some more, because that kind of a person will sleep and then will come back to you and say, you know what, can I sleep some more? Yeah, but you slept like for 8.5 hours. Yeah, but just a little bit more, just a little bit more. I want to hit the snooze button. I just, So there's that, the first, non-satiety. The second one, he says, has to do with sex. People will never be, getting to a point where they say, enough. I'm now satisfied. That's it. It's done. No, there's always more. Somebody else who looks a little bit different, intrigued, this, that. So they always want more. So that is the second habit that we have of not being fulfilled, satisfied, that he noticed, Lord Buddha, in people, in beings. And the third one is intoxication, basically substances. Whether it's alcohol, whether it's gambling, whether it's checking YouTube video after YouTube video, being on social media, always checking your phone, Instagram, Twitter, this, that, whatever obviously alcohol, drugs. And when you look at the legalization of drugs, people were celebrating. That's how stupid people are. They were celebrating that finally, marijuana has now become legal. And I'm like, are you realizing what is happening? They're dumbing people down. So you are keeping people in a coma with these so-called events, sporting events. It's absolutely idiotic, stupid. Just the thought of grown men running after a ball to score a point, and grown men on the other side, not just grown men, I'm just, women, children, older people, fighting with each other. They have these huge screens. I remember when I was a layman. Oh, we're going to go watch the game. Like, why? Can't we sit down and talk? No, we're going to go to this restaurant. They have huge screens and this and that. I was like, yeah, but everybody's going to be yelling. I can't even hear myself think in those spaces, let alone have a proper meal. Oh, we don't go just there for eating. We're going to have fun just joining the crowd and acting stupid. So the Dhamma is opposite to that, is the exact opposite, because it involves you not running away. Therefore, not looking for the next big thing that's happening. Oh, did you go watch that show? Did you watch this movie that came out? Do you know this thing that? I remember years ago during supervision, working in agencies. So as therapists, you sit down, with other therapists, group meetings and things like that. So people would talk about, oh, did you watch the next, the Netflix new series on this? Oh yeah, everybody would talk about this new show that I would be totally clueless about. One, because I didn't have Netflix. I didn't want to, spend money on such things. And second, even more important, the time. I'm like, How would you have the time to, instead of sitting and writing your notes, why would you sit down and binge on some show? And now talking about it the whole day. So you see, it's distraction. It's a method, a mechanism for distracting you. Years before I became a monk, a bhikkhu, as a layman, I refused to have a TV. I didn't want to. And when I had one before that, I would just keep it turned off. When my dad died, before he died, he was like, son, I'm going to give you my big screen TV. Like, Dad, I don't watch TV. He's like, no, that's going to be perfect for your house, this and that. Everybody needs a TV, so you need to have. But Dad, I don't want one. No, don't worry. I said no. I thought that was the end of the discussion. But after his death, I see my brothers coming over with their, one of their cars, and they brought this huge TV to my house. Like, why? Well, Dad wanted you to have it. So, these are just silly things that intelligent people should not have anything to do with. But when you see the demise of a society, of a culture, of a civilization, one of the things, like I was mentioning about those Roman emperors, and not just the Romans, of course, but others as well, one of the things that they use is they focus on how to numb, sedate the public so that the public does not wake up, doesn't use their intellect, common sense to see what's going on. And that's how you can control 8 billion people. Mass hypnosis, massively cause them to be interested in things that absolutely do not matter. Olympics, for example, every 4 years there's a new one. Well, what happened to the other one? Well, we'll give the other guy, the person, the winner, first place, the gold. Oh yeah, by the way, it's not gold, it's just plated. Okay, but they're about to kill each other for that. They give up, they sell out their integrity. They fight and fight to beat the other people and to get to that first place, and then they have to go to the regional and then national and then this and that and then international. It's like, why? What a nonsense. What a headache. Meanwhile, life is running underneath your feet so fast, and you're being taken to the slaughterhouse of death. So this is just insanity. These things were happening at the time of the Buddha, of course, not to this level, not at this scale. So it's quite stupid to go to sporting event, entertainment event, some match. That's why bhikkhus are not allowed. People, I've said this in different places around the world, and especially if they're unfamiliar with the Buddhist, monastic tradition, they look at me and they shake their head, but they almost look sad for me that I'm not going to those places. So I have to control myself not to giggle. It's just silly. It distracts you from living your life, from seeing things as they are. Nobody's going to come out of a sporting event, a boxing event, wiser. Nobody's going to come out of a rock concert or pop concert or whatever you call them today, musical concert, and completely transformed. I mean, don't get me wrong, I used to go to concerts and live shows, things like that, but even in those days I would see people smoking marijuana and things, behaving in totally, in ways where they will not behave like that during the day, in public or around their friends, around their loved ones. So these things have become a method of escape from reality. So each of the layers of these that I'm referring to, the drugs, the alcohol, being surrounded by others, your inhibitions are dropped, people will start swearing, gesturing. Even young little boys, basically children, I've seen them gesturing, making lewd, physical gestures to the opponent, fans. Yelling, saying, using swear words. Children that just started to walk, basically. But the adults are teaching them. And they're also teaching them directly and indirectly, because the child is looking at them and seeing, oh, this is normal. So the adults normalize this, because the crowds have normalized this for each of these individuals. So inhibitions drop. And that is how you lose civilization. And that's why the Roman Empire was destroyed, inside out. Before the hordes of other, invading forces showed up in Rome, it was already destroyed. Any historian can tell you that. It was completely dilapidated. It was completely dissolved from the inside because of all the vulgarity, the corruption, and that's what we have. Every government in the world pretty much is corrupted. Every religious system is corrupted. You didn't know that. It's all corrupted. So if you're looking for some lofty lifestyle goals, I encourage you to continue doing that, to search and on that noble quest. But once you find it, you got to dedicate yourself to it. And that definitely needs to be based on the foundation, the bedrock of virtue. There's no way around this, because that is what we need. And that's what these events, these things that we're seeing around us, are destroying. The importance of virtue, of knowing and choosing the path of right versus wrong. What is really wholesome from what is unwholesome. In Buddhism, we call that kusala versus akusala. What brings you good results now and in the future. Not just to you only, that's the beauty of it, but to all others around you. Not just now, but later. Because you're avoiding doing the unwholesome, the bad thing, which protects you and also protects others around you. And it also brings maturity. So you won't find a person who's living a virtuous life going along with this whole, we're going this way. They have a very difficult time saying yes. And if they go, they still will become an island, even among a crowd of 40,000, yelling and screaming and acting berserk, cheering on this and that, because they're aware that they're going to be sucked into that whole ocean, the current, the vortex, because it's a very powerful drive. It drives a person to their primal instincts, the baser instincts rather, where they act out of character. That's why you have fights, people die, and my uncle used to watch soccer games, football games, and we couldn't be around him. And if we were, we better not make a sound, a peep, nothing, not even say, Uncle, that's it, too late. He would either yell at you, look at my mom angrily, why did you bring your kids over? Or in some intense moment, maybe even get slapped. Because he would be in it, in that, soccer match. He's just watching the TV, by the way. And this is not a unique case. Same thing with the news. My dad had the same thing with the news, watching the news. Oh, if you, by accident, came between him and the TV, walking, he would lose it. He would start yelling and things. So it was quite traumatic, watching being around at 8 p.m. in the living room where the TV was. So what are these things? These are things that remove us from what really matters. Because nothing was going to happen if my dad didn't watch that news broadcast. Nothing would have been lost. But he was addicted to that. He was never satisfied. Remember that sutta I mentioned? Non-satiety? It's just promotion of sickness in society. That's what the Lord Buddha, I would say, would look upon us today and just shake his head and say, what has become of you, people? I had hopes for you. Grown men and women, because women are fighting, yeah, we want to also be able to run after the ball. Okay. And games, video games, let's not forget that. Ludicrous enterprise. Well, it's not ludicrous for those people who are making billions and billions of dollars. And the pizza deliveries or Uber deliveries of food that come in because people have gotten too lazy to leave their lazy chairs. So it's just sad, but you don't have to be following that. That's why I want to answer these questions and put them out there, and so people could hear and see that, they have a choice. Of course they have a choice. You don't have to follow them. These are all made up stuff, So,